Do you remember the first time watching the movie Big in 1988? Surely, everyone has stood in front of a mirror at least once when they were young, closed their eyes tightly, and wished to grow up quickly, to freely do whatever they wanted. Tom Hanks turned that innocent dream into one of the most memorable films of the 80s. His brilliant acting made us truly believe that there was a 12-year-old boy fumbling and bewildered in the body of a grown man. But today, we will not only revisit the dancing scene on the giant piano that everyone remembers. Behind those iconic frames is a completely different story. There were unexpected accidents on set, behind-the-scenes secrets kept hidden for decades, and even last-minute spontaneous decisions that accidentally saved the entire production. Make yourself a cup of coffee and sit down comfortably. We will travel back in time together to discover 15 secrets and unexpected incidents that created the true magic for Big. You will realize that sometimes mistakes are the most perfect puzzle pieces. The giant piano was a real invention. One of the most iconic moments of Big is the scene where Josh and his boss McMillan dance on the giant piano at the toy store. Many viewers, when watching it for the first time, thought that this was just a prop custom built for the movie, or supported by special effects. But the truth is much more interesting than that. That piano was completely real. It was called the walking piano, created by artist and inventor Remo Saraceni many years before Big was released. Each piano key was designed large enough for the player to step directly onto the surface and create sounds with their own footsteps. The amazing thing is that the movie turned this unique invention into a pop culture phenomenon. Right after Big became a box office hit, millions of viewers began searching for the strange piano they had just seen on screen. Sales soared, and shopping malls and amusement parks also rushed to install their own versions of the walking piano. Sometimes, just a movie scene lasting a few minutes is enough to turn a creative idea into a legend. Josh's dream apartment was filled with personal items from the crew. If there is one location in Big that made millions of viewers wish they could step inside, it is definitely Josh's apartment in New York. For a young boy who suddenly possesses an adult life, that apartment is like a dream heaven. Everywhere there are toys, game consoles, models, quirky items, and even a huge, fun trampoline. What surprised many people is that most of the items appearing in the apartment were not bought brand new from expensive prop shops. To save budget and create a more natural feel, many members of the film crew brought their own favorite items from home to contribute to the set. Because of this, Josh's apartment does not feel like a carefully staged set. It feels like a real living space where a child could spend hours exploring every little corner. Each item seems to have its own story behind it. Perhaps that is also the reason this apartment became one of the most remembered settings of 80s cinema. It was not just where Josh lived, but also a representation of the childhood dreams that many viewers once had. Zen. Continuous piano dancing was actually to fight the cold. When watching the famous piano dancing scene in Big, most viewers feel the joyful, warm, and energetic atmosphere of a dream toy store. But behind those smiles and dance steps is a completely different story. The filming took place during winter in New York, inside a large building where the heating system did not work as effectively as desired. The temperature inside was much colder than what appeared on screen. The crew members had to wear thick coats every time the camera stopped working to avoid freezing. Interestingly, the fact that Tom Hanks and Robert Loggia continuously moved on the piano keys was not just for the scene. It was also a way to keep their bodies active and warm enough between retakes. Instead of standing still and shivering while waiting, they turned the practice itself into an effective method to fight the cold. Perhaps that is why the energy in that scene feels so real. The dance steps did not just come from acting, but also from the very practical need of two actors trying to stay warm in the middle of a cold winter day. The thrilling origin of the Zoltar wish machine. No character in Big appears so little, yet has such a huge impact as the Zoltar machine. Only a few minutes on screen, but it was the very thing that completely changed Josh's life and opened up the whole magical story that the audience loves. Many people always believed that Zoltar was a real vintage machine that had long existed at amusement parks or arcades in America. In fact, that is not entirely true. To serve the script, the art design team created the movie's own version of Zoltar. They came up with the idea from scratch, designing every decorative detail, every pattern, and even the mysterious face of the character inside the machine. The goal was to create a feeling that was both mystical and believable, as if it were an item you could encounter at any carnival. The final result was so successful that many viewers believed Zoltar was a real-life artifact. That is a testament to the convincing cinematic world-building capabilities of the filmmakers behind Big. Woo. A historic Oscar nomination for a pure comedy? In the world of Hollywood cinema, comedy films often face difficulties when competing at prestigious awards. Many people view them as light entertainment rather than movies with deep artistic value. But Big proved the opposite. In 1989, the film received 2 important Oscar nominations. One was for Best Original Screenplay, and one was for Best Actor for Tom Hanks. This was an incredibly remarkable achievement for a work promoted primarily as a family comedy. What makes this special is that the nomination marked a major turning point in the career of Tom Hanks. Before that, he was mainly known as a charming comedic actor. After Big, Hollywood began to see an artist capable of conveying complex emotions and incredible character depth. Today, looking back at the series of golden statues and legendary roles that Tom Hanks has owned, many people still view Big as the first milestone, proving that he was not just a good comedic actor, but also one of the most brilliant talents of his generation. Leo, the first female director to reach the $100 million revenue milestone. The success of Big did not just change the lives of the actors. It also created an important historical milestone for women in the Hollywood film industry. Before the late 80s, very few female directors were given the opportunity to make major commercial projects. Many studios were still skeptical about the leadership ability of women regarding films with high budgets and large revenues. Penny Marshall changed that prejudice in the simplest way, which was proving it with results. Thanks to the powerful attraction of Big at the box office, she became the first female director in history to have a film exceed the $100 million revenue milestone in the North American market. This was not only a personal success, but also a symbolic victory for the entire film industry. That achievement opened up many more opportunities for female directors in the years that followed. And whenever pioneers who broke barriers in Hollywood are mentioned, the name Penny Marshall is always spoken of with special respect. C. The simulation video game at the beginning of the movie was the real deal. For viewers who grew up in the 80s, just seeing the vintage computer appear at the beginning of the movie Big is enough to bring back a whole sky of memories. Before the era of 3D graphics and online game worlds, many adventures began with simple lines of text appearing on the screen. In the film, Josh spends time playing a text adventure game called The Caverns of Cozumel. Many people thought that what appeared on the screen was just an image added later in post-production. But the truth is much more interesting. Instead of creating a fake screen for the actor to pretend to press keys, the production team hired a programmer to build a real working version of the game. That meant every time the character typed a command, the screen responded for real, helping the actors interact more naturally and authentically. This is a small detail that most of the audience never noticed, but it shows the incredible care of the filmmakers at that time. Even a scene that only appears for a few minutes was invested in enough to create the most realistic feeling possible, making the world of Big much more alive and believable. Bye. The Secret of the Eyes and Habits of Young Josh. One of the biggest challenges of Big was making the audience believe that young Josh and the adult version of Josh were truly the same person. That is why the crew paid attention to even the smallest details. Child actor David Moscow, who played Josh as a child, actually has a different eye color than Tom Hanks. To create physical consistency, he had to wear colored contact lenses in many scenes. However, eye color was only the simplest part of the preparation. David also spent time watching Tom Hanks work on the set. He studied the way Hanks walked, the way he waved his arms when talking, his facial expressions, and even very small involuntary movements. The goal was not to imitate an actor, but to learn how to become the younger version of the same character. Thanks to that thorough preparation, the transition between the two versions of Josh became incredibly natural. Even many viewers watching the movie again today are still surprised by the level of similarity that the crew created with seemingly tiny details. Joe. The original script idea carried horror and dark tones. Today, when mentioning Big, people often remember a warm family movie full of laughter and gentle lessons about adulthood. But few people know that the first version of this story was far from what appeared on screen. In the initial script drafts, the Zoltar machine was not built as a magical fairy tale item. Instead, it carried the appearance of a much more mysterious and terrifying entity. The atmosphere of the story also leaned toward tension, darkness, and contained many creepy elements. If that idea had been kept, Big could have become a completely different movie. Instead of bringing a sense of nostalgia and hope, the film could have focused on the scary consequences of a seemingly harmless wish. Fortunately for the audience, the filmmakers ultimately chose a more emotional path. It was that decision to change the tone that helped Big become a timeless work, touching the hearts of many generations of viewers. Sure, the typewriter-style corn-eating scene was completely improvised. One of the things that keeps Big beloved after decades is the authentic feeling that Tom Hanks brings to the character Josh. Despite being in the form of an adult, Josh still thinks and acts like a 12-year-old boy, exploring the adult world for the first time. A perfect example appears in the luxury party scene, when Josh casually holds a long corn cob and munches straight from one end to the other, just like a typewriter running at full speed. It was a moment that made many viewers laugh, because it was completely contrary to the politeness that the guests around him were trying to show. Interestingly, this detail did not exist in the original script. Tom Hanks came up with it himself right on the set when trying to put himself in the mind of a child lost in an adult world. For a young boy, eating a corn cob in the most fun way possible is simply natural. When director Penny Marshall witnessed this improvisation, she immediately realized she had just captured a golden moment. And it was those spontaneous moments that helped Big become more alive, lovable, and unforgettable than ever. Shri. The humorous age reversal between the two main actors. One of the elements that makes the relationship between Josh and Susan memorable is the strange contrast between the adult appearance and the childish soul of the character, Josh. On screen, Susan is a successful, confident, and experienced woman, while Josh, despite having an adult body, is still just a 12-year-old boy trying to understand the world around him. Interestingly, in real life, actress Elizabeth Perkins is actually older than Tom Hanks. That created a rather humorous paradox during the filming process. According to Perkins, one of the biggest challenges was not acting out the romantic scenes, but trying to keep a straight face in front of Tom Hanks, as he continuously showed the innocence, hyperactivity, and very childish reactions of Josh. Hanks did not just play a child, he truly made everyone believe that inside that man's body was a little boy discovering life for the first time. It was that excellent immersion that created the special chemistry between the two actors. Perhaps that is the reason why the audience still feels the cuteness and sonority in their relationship even after nearly 4 decades since the day the movie was released. Sure are. The piano dancing scene used 0% stunt doubles. Nowadays, many movies often use stunt doubles or editing techniques to handle complex scenes. But with Big, one of the most memorable moments was performed entirely by the actors themselves. To prepare for the performance of the song Heart and Soul on the giant piano, the crew carefully hired professional stunt doubles in advance. They were always standing by in case Tom Hanks or Robert Loggia faced difficulties with the choreographed dance steps. However, both stars wanted to perform the entire scene themselves. They spent a lot of time practicing, memorizing the position of each piano key, and synchronizing their movements to match the music. This was not easy at all, because just misplacing one footstep could ruin the entire piece of music. As a result, what the audience sees on screen is completely authentic. It was the real expression, the real focus, and the real joy of two actors enjoying that special moment. It was that authenticity that turned this scene into one of the most iconic moments of 80s cinema. Shisen, the current fate of the original Zoltar machine after filming wrapped. After Big became a box office phenomenon, many props in the movie were quickly hunted down by collectors. But no item received more attention than the legendary Zoltar machine. According to many sources in the film collecting community, the original Zoltar version used during the filming process was later transferred to a private collector. Since then, it has become one of the props that fans are most curious about. Even more notable is the cultural influence that Zoltar left behind. Following the success of the movie, a series of entertainment companies began producing versions inspired by this machine. They appeared in shopping malls, amusement parks, and tourist locations across America. Many young people today, when encountering a Zoltar-style fortune-telling machine, might not know that the biggest inspiration came from a movie released nearly 4 decades ago. That is a testament to the enduring vitality of Big, a masterpiece that not only created beautiful memories, but also left a lasting mark on American pop culture. Shirsu. The ending that brought the most tears to the oldest audience members. At first glance, Big seems like a movie for children and those who love magical stories. However, what surprised critics after the test screenings lay in the reaction of the older audience. It was not children, nor was it teenagers, but rather people from middle age and above who were the most deeply moved by the ending of the film. When Josh decides to give up his adult life to return to being a normal boy, many viewers saw themselves in that very moment. They did not cry because the magic ended, but because of the things the movie silently reminded them of. Those were the carefree days that had passed, the unfinished dreams, and the feeling of regret upon realizing that childhood can never return. Perhaps that is the special power of Big. The movie does not just tell the story of a boy who wants to grow up fast. It is also a gentle reminder to adults that sometimes the most precious things in life are what we left behind on our journey to maturity. Shirwoo! The launchpad that created the body swap movie wave in Hollywood. The idea of a child suddenly waking up in an adult body was not entirely new when Big was released. However, no movie had ever exploited this topic as successfully and closely to the audience as the work of Penny Marshall. After the resounding success of Big, Hollywood quickly realized the special appeal of stories revolving around changing age, bodies, or life perspectives. Movies of this genre began to appear more and more during the following decades. Viewers can easily see the imprint of Big in many famous subsequent works such as 13 Going on 30, Freaky Friday, or 17 Again. Although each movie has its own style, they all inherit a familiar formula, which is placing the character in an unusual circumstance to explore lessons about family, love, and maturity. The memorable thing is that Big never relied entirely on the magical element. The core focus of the movie was always human emotion. That very thing helped it become the template that many filmmakers continue to learn from to this day. After more than 3 decades, Big still holds a very special place. The film not only brings laughter, but also reawakens the priceless childhood years of each person. It was those random incidents and behind-the-scenes secrets that breathed life into it, turning the movie into a genuine and unforgettable memory. As for you, which scene in Big is your most memorable one? Please share your memories in the comments section. Thank you for taking the time to sit with me today. Do not forget to hit the follow button so we can continue to look back at other nostalgic films together. See you again.